Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another Chelsea preview. As obviously we are to face Malmo in the Champions League group stages tomorrow night, but arguably the bigger topic of the day is Antonio Conte joining bloody Tottenham. We'll talk about that in all sorts of details, what our opinions are on that. Does it change his, legacy or whatever you want to call it at Chelsea Football Club? We will, of course, discuss whether we have the best wingbacks in the world. Do we compare that to normal fullbacks? We'll see. We'll see what Liverpool fans have to say about that. But we'll get to that at a later point. And of course, we will be previewing the Malmo game in all sorts of details, predicted 11 and whatever Thomas Tuchel injury news. And, other bits and pieces that he, gave us during his press conference. As you might be able to tell on screen, we are joined by a new guest on the channel today, Mr. Charlie. I can't lie, your surname on Twitter is Patrick, but I'm not sure if that's your actual surname, hence why I just went with Mr. Charlie.
That is my surname, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, that is my surname, yeah.
There you go. Mr. Charlie Patrick, then there you go. He does have a YouTube channel himself called The Blues Brothers, to which the link is down in the description. I actually did a video with him on his channel a couple of days ago, so if you haven't seen that yet, go down below, link is down in the description. Check that out. First of all, Charlie, thank you for joining us. And secondly, let's start first and foremost, because it is a Chelsea channel, essentially. How do you feel ahead of tomorrow's game? And also, just super quickly, any feelings about Antonio Conte going to Tottenham?
Well, firstly, mate, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. In terms of the game tomorrow first, I don't think there should be any problems, really. I mean, no disrespect to Malmo. They are a poor side. They're the worst in the group by a long way. Obviously, we convincingly beat them 4-0 in the corresponding fixture at the Bridge. And I envisage a pretty similar pattern for tomorrow's game. I mean, it'll be a little bit tougher in their stadium than it was probably at Stamford Bridge, not by a lot. And I think Newcastle at the weekend were probably a higher standard of opposition than Malmo will be. So I think that'll be pretty straightforward, really. But in terms of Antonio Conte, look, it's always disappointing, perhaps as such, when you have a manager who's done great stuff at Chelsea end up at one of your biggest rivals, Tottenham. But I think we've also got to realise that at a club like Chelsea, where you go through so many managers on a consistent basis, the chances are one or two of them are going to end up managing a rival club. I don't think that discredits what they achieved at the club. We have to can't forget Conte won us a double, some fantastic football, and that will always be the case. Now, whether there'll be some fans that think it's the most ridiculous thing ever to manage Chelsea, manage Tottenham, but I think Conte's not a Chelsea guy as such. He's come in, did a good job, and he's perfectly entitled to go and manage whoever he wants. It would be a totally different conversation if it was a Chelsea guy like Lampard or JT that ended up managing Spurs. Then, yeah, we've got a different conversation on our hands. But for me, I'd much rather end up at Tottenham than Man United.
Oh, that's for damn sure. You'd definitely much rather end up at Tottenham than at Man United in terms of threat. But we will obviously talk about it in more detail in just a second. But Pice, first of all, thank you for joining us. We did actually tell the people that you were meant to be on the other day, but were stuck on the toilet. So we hope you're better now. So thank you for joining us now. Sorry if that, was TMI for the people, if that makes sense. But hey, here we are now. Thank you for joining us. And similar questions in essentially, how do you feel ahead of tomorrow? And how do you feel about Conte? Well, pretty much being confirmed to go to Tottenham.
I mean, I'm slightly controversial, as people know. So I've already said that, I don't like him going there and stuff like that. So I already made a controversial statement that we should boo him at Stamford Bridge. So, I thought I'd put that out there so I could get people.
If we boo Jose, we can boo anyone.
To be fair, I just, I thought I'll put it out there. I know what.
We boo our own fucking manager, mate.
I was like, so I thought, I said, let's boom and let's sing Super Tommy Tuchel again, because I knew that would get people wound up. So, but to be fair, a lot of people agreed with me. So I was like, okay. But no, I mean, obviously Conte is a great manager. I mean, it's just, I don't really get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't, it seems a volatile appointment to me. Like, they've only given him a contract till 2023 as well. So, yeah, it seems a bit weird, him and Levy. Spurs aren't necessarily one of the ones that have such big investment as well, like Conte requires. But I guess the only reason why he's joined really is because of Fabio Paratici, I guess, right? Because he worked with him at Juventus, so that seems to be why he's gone there. But, I mean, in terms of the league, no, I don't see them as a threat, to be honest. It's Spurs at the end of the day. They can have anyone they want in charge. It's the players. if Jose can't change their mentality, Conte's not going to change it, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just think there's miles better squads, and by the time Spurs could be up there, I think the rest of us will be well clear anyway.
I probably agree. We'll get to that in just a second because might as well start on that topic because it is, I guess, the hottest topic of the day. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuning in already, first of all, big ups yourselves. Get involved in the chat. I want to hear your opinions on Antonio Conte going to Tottenham. But also, if you haven't already, get subscribed. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Smash that like button for me. And if you are watching this once this has turned into a video, again, appreciate you. But again, subscribe and smash that like button for me and leave a comment about anything. So just do that. But let me just kind of react to what both of you guys have said, because I do think Charlie has a very good point in terms of, for me, it doesn't, the fact that he's going to Tottenham doesn't really change that much. It's probably to do with the position that Tottenham are currently in, while obviously when Jose went there, they kind of just stopped being a bit of a threat because they just got rid of Poch, I suppose. But with the position they're in now, I'm not really that bothered by the fact that he's going to Tottenham. But why am I not really bothered by that? Because I didn't like him anyway. I can't lie. Like his second season, and the fact that he bloody sued us, I don't care. We'll get to that. Was he right to sue us? Was he not? We'll get to that in a second. But he sued us. I don't like anyone that sues my football club. So, get in a bit for all I care. So the fact that he goes to Tottenham, makes it a tad worse, but doesn't really change that much. But I think Charlie made a very good point that we maybe, have to just accept, as a club that goes through changes managers every 18 to 24 months on average. Like he said, we're going through so many managers. Eventually, they are going to end up at rivals because there's only so many big clubs in all of world football, right? And the fact that he seems to not want to learn another language aside from Italian and English, and obviously Bayern only wanted to really hire German-speaking managers. They tried that with Carlo Ancelotti. That didn't go well, so they kind of sacked that idea off. So it's like we probably have to get used to that. Sure, someone like Lampard wouldn't. But, Melinda said it there. Sarri would never. I'm not too sure if Sarri was offered the job. I don't know if he would take it or not. But what I will say is, I quickly just want to touch on it because I found it very funny. What Matisse tweeted earlier. He's like, Sarri is more of a Chelsea man than...
Bro, I was going to do that as well and just start winding people up.
Because I'm not 100% sure how much of that is his opinion and how much of that is him winding people up, because I think it's a mix of both. Because... is Sarri a super Chelsea man? No. But does going to Tottenham make Conte less of a Chelsea man? Yes. Anyone that tells you different, I think, is kind of lying to themselves a little bit. What I find a little bit strange is what Pies touched on. Why is this happening now? First of all, Daniel Levy, the perception that is given to the public is that he's a super stingy man, but he's, as a businessman, not actually that bad. But the last few months have been the worst pieces of business I've ever seen anybody do. So they refused to get Conte because he demanded too much in terms of wages and power and transfers and all sorts of stuff. So it didn't happen. Then they looked at every other manager in the world, pretty much. Had half of them already agreed and then kind of changed their mind again. Got Nuno, which was always going to be a bad appointment, in my opinion. I think most people agreed that wasn't going to work out well. I didn't quite think that they would sack him this early. But anyway, so now they did get Nuno. Now have to pay him a payout and are getting Conte anyway. Probably not for less wages than he wanted in the summer, arguably because he's like, all right, see what happens when you don't get me. So chances are he's going to be on higher wages than he was before. So that is a massive L. But I'll go back to you, Charlie. I know you touched on it already, but does it for you, is it just Tottenham? Is it maybe the part of how the second season ended and obviously him suing us and the way that he kicked Diego out and, that cost us millions, let's be honest. Did that change anything? Or does only going to Tottenham change anything? Or will he just, for you, always be, like you said, not really a Chelsea man? And he's just, okay, we're grateful you won us the league. We're grateful you won us the FA Cup. But, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it for me, really. Look, he's obviously fully supported him when he was here. He did some great stuff. He played some great football, as I said. Yes, things didn't end well. I was very disappointed in the way that, things worked out with Diego Costa. And then, as you mentioned, suing the club for not, paying his full contract out, etc. I thought that was a little bit poor from him. When Mourinho had been there, he waived off the payment for the rest of his contract. These guys don't need the money. I don't know if it's more of a pride thing or an ego thing or something, but, they don't need the money. They don't need the payoff. I thought that was a little bit bad taste from him, but I don't really have a bad word to say about him, to be honest. I think he's a top manager. He still is. And I think part of the reason why I don't feel so bad about him going to Tottenham is the fact that they're not in a threatening position to challenge for the league. You know, if they were in a position where they were, you know, direct rivals for the major trophies, then yeah, it becomes a little bit of a bigger issue. But for me, I can't really see him being there longer than a couple of years anyway, and it's going to take at least 2 or 3 seasons for him to try and sort them out. Because, you know, when Conte's gone and managed at place, he's always going to manage the best team in the league pretty much. You know, Inter Milan, virtually best side in the league when he went there. His Juventus team were the best in the league. And, you know, Chelsea were, give or take, in the top 2 or 3 challenging for the league in the Premier League. So he's never actually managed somewhere where the side
Well, in the second season, we finished 5th.
Yeah, but he's never been somewhere where, you know, the side has not been a favourite to win something, if that makes sense. So him going to Tottenham seems a bit of an odd fit. And as you touched on, if it wasn't, they couldn't get him 4 months ago, why is it suddenly okay now? And as you said, they're probably going to be paying him more money because they're in more of a mess. They're in more demand for his services. And one thing that, you know, Levy has to do, he has to back him. You know, there's no point bringing Conte in and not giving him what he wants, because he is one that's not afraid to speak his mind. He will throw his toys at the pram. He will publicly humiliate the club as such. And he's not afraid to do that. And he doesn't really care. He'll just say it how it is. So, you know, yes, it could go well. It's going to be an interesting time for Tottenham fans, but, you know, as it could be very explosive, and it won't take long for him and Levy to fall out.
I agree with that. Before I put it to you, Pice, I mean, Fernando seems to be a big fan of Conte, saying he took over Juve when they were mid-table, which is true. They did finish 7th the season before he took over. We finished 10th the season before he took over. And Inter were barely scrapping top 4. But a couple of things we have to mention there. Now, his international record is absolutely dreadful. I can't wait for the fact that he won't win the Conference League, and that would just be hilarious. But let's see whether they make it out of the group, because, I mean, they're only 3rd these days. So let's see if that. Second, Inter, kind of not the great start to the season until they finished 4th in the Champions League and could only focus on the league, which is kind of what he had at Chelsea all season. And then as soon as we had Europe, we were kind of diabolical all season long. I know we finished 5th, and it's not like the worst thing in the world, but that football was some of the worst football we played in decades, I thought. Like, that City game, I know people, there's always going to be these different people that hate the result more and hate the style more. Some people will hate the fact that we lost 6-0 under Sarri at City. We'll find that worse. I found the 1-0 with Conte at City worse. We didn't even attempt it. Like, the reason why we lost 6-0 is because we were too expansive against too good of a team and weren't defensively good enough. Shit happens, right? But against Conte, we didn't even bother. You know, I remember this moment. In the middle of the game, we were 1-0 down already. And Fabregas and a few other players were just stood in front of the City players, 2 yards off them in the middle of the pitch, didn't even attempt to get the ball back. What is this? Like, that will forever piss me off, that game. Forever. And because it's got a charge since that day, I'm like, you annoy me. And then they kept talking about transfers in bloody March. I'm like, mate, it's March. Stop finding excuses. You're not Klopp. Stop. Just do your job, mate. Stop waffling on about excuses all the time. The best thing you did was eating cake in a press conference in that second season. Do you know what I mean? But I know I'm harsh, and I know full well that my opinions on Conte are not reflected by everybody. I fully understand that, but, you know, I hope that people understand that some people have different opinions than other people. The only thing I will say is, it just, like, I don't understand why some people have such an affiliation. Like, is it really so easy to like someone just because he's, you know, hops about on the touchline? Like, is that all you need as a human to like someone? Like, you're very shallow if that's all it needs for someone to hop about a little bit and jump into the crowd. You're like, oh, he's the greatest person alive. I'm like, what? And now what? I don't understand this. But, Pice, I know you explained it, you know, already on Twitter, and I'm sure we've spoken about it in the past, but why don't you go into it? What your individual issues with Conte were, and why you think he will or will not, you know, work out for Spurs, and, you know, then we'll, you know, myself and Charlie say what exactly we think he will be able to do with them.
Well, I mean, second season, like I said before, like, it's just some of the most depressing football I've ever watched. I felt like he gave up on the team and the fans, and it was just terrible. It was. I just remember I got flashbacks since he's, you know, been appointed to Spurs. Like, just thinking every time I think back to Conte's second season, it just ruins the first season for me, because it generally was terrible. And yeah, I know the board didn't necessarily back him as such. You know, he wanted prime Alexander, he wanted Lukaku, he wanted Nainggolan, and we give him, you know, like Bakayoko, Morata and stuff. I get that, but still, like, even some of his other targets were terrible in my opinion. Like, we're still trying to
Tuchel wanted Haaland, we gave him Lukaku, so we gave him the second choice. We gave Conte his second choice in Morata, so I don't know why everybody's complaining about that one.
Yeah, like I don't know, like we're still trying to get rid of some of the dead wood he's got. So he bought to us. We only just sold bloody Zappa Costa last summer.
And Drinkwater is still at Reading with us paying all of his 100k.
Yeah.
Didn't Bakayoko come as well under Conte? Still paying for him.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, and for Spurs, I don't think it'll work because, as I said, I don't think they'll give him the investment. I feel like Spurs players are also so fragile that, like, as soon as Conte puts a bit of authority into that team, I feel like some of them might go and moan to the higher ups and stuff like that. Like, I can see that happening for sure about training sessions and things like that because he's just so intense. I don't think they're used to that. It's like a whole different world for those Spurs players, Conte coming in there. And then just Levy and Conte, I think, is an absolute, like, that's a clash waiting to happen anyway, I think. So,
yeah.
I mean, when you give a contract to someone till 2023, you don't think it's going to be long-term anyway. It's kind of similar like...
We did that to Tuchel as well.
Yeah, because Tuchel was still the unknown. Like, we just sacked Lampard. We was like, we'll give the next guy a short contract because, I mean... managers don't seem to last long at us anyway. So the fact that he then got a contract extension is very good signs. But yeah, for Spurs and Conte, like, I just feel like it's a clash waiting to happen. It'll be one of those ones where, like, in a year or so time, I'll be reading a massive Athletic article on what Conte did strangling someone on the training ground. So I just feel like that will be the case. But we'll see. I don't know. Conte can do special things, but every time someone says that to me, I'm just like, it's Spurs. Like, I don't care. It's Spurs. It's Spurs. I can't see. That's my answer. It's Spurs. Like, I can't see them. I can never see Spurs winning anything. Like, genuinely, like, the competition's so high as well. Like, even if they get to, like, an FA Cup final or something, you're either going to be playing, like, Man City, Chelsea, probably not Liverpool because they rotate, but they could be Liverpool. Leicester. Leicester would smash Spurs, so you know what I mean. Like, it's a weird one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I will also say it's Tottenham number one, and it's also not Jose. Like when Jose went Tottenham, that hurt. But I also had a very strong connection to Jose because Jose was manager when I first, started supporting Chelsea. So that was kind of different in a way. I will say, I mean, I'm going to go by your surname, Azim, because I'm scared to butcher your first name. Saying, to be fair, he is a serial winner. He'll definitely win the Conference Cup. Yeah, you say that. He's never won anything in Europe. Like I said, he came fourth with Inter in the group stage last season. And they didn't even have the toughest group. I know they had Real Madrid, but their other clubs was Borussia Mönchengladbach, which...
And Shakhtar, wasn't it?
And Shakhtar, exactly that. And he came fourth, man. Like, not even third. That's ridiculous. But I will say this because I haven't actually mentioned that yet. And I don't know why I haven't, because I said, since then... The first time when I was really like, are you okay, man, with Conte, was when this text that he sent Diego Costa came out. I'm like, are you taking the Michael? Like, how does a manager, and he was only a head coach, by the way, because since Jose, we haven't appointed managers anymore. We only do head coaches. Who gave him the right to send our player the message, you're not needed anymore, lad, costing us millions, because that very same summer, Romelu Lukaku went from Everton to Manchester United for over 80 million, and we only got 60 million euros for Costa back. I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, and Marina did a great job at even getting that much. But if he didn't have like 4 months without training and being able over in Brazil, we would have certainly got more money from it, which is why I know, Conte won in front of court. I still don't understand how he won in front of court. The information that is public, from what I know, I don't understand how he would ever win that, because to me, yes, Chelsea not giving it a payout is in theory breaking a contract, but surely breaking a contract is basically forcing a player out, which is not in your job description. Like, you don't have the right to force a player out, but essentially he did. So I think Chelsea had every right to not pay him his payout. And obviously then he sued us because someone said, didn't Eva Canero sue us as well? Yeah, but she had every right to sue us. Like, I know I said I don't like anybody that sues the club. I'm sure there's been plenty of fans that sue the clubs for various reasons, when they've been mistreated or this or that. I don't now hate these fans. But when you sue the club without having, or for my opinion, with no reason or for no good reason, That's ridiculous to me. But that Costa stuff was just ain't it? Like he just nearly won us the double because I mean, in my opinion, Conte felt that I mean the ref didn't help, but in my opinion, Conte really bottled that FA Cup final against Arsenal, and Diego was the only player that actually turned up that day for him, and then he sends him that text message. Outrageous. But like you both said, it's Tottenham. I mean, first of all, who knows whether Harry Kane will now care about Tottenham now that Conte's there, because he hasn't cared so far this season. And then if he still doesn't care, he will leave. So how good are Tottenham without Harry Kane? Sure, they will give him the money that they get for Harry Kane. They will probably invest that. But we saw what Tottenham did last time they, got a lot of money for one player, and they bought bloody Roberto Soldado. Do you know what I mean? So like Tottenham have a great track record of dealing with a lot of money. Then, Daniel Levy's not used to having a lot of money. But like, I tweeted it earlier as well. I wouldn't have been happy if Conte went to United because that would have made them a threat. Because their squad, maybe a DM, maybe a centre-back away from being like as good as ourselves in City in terms of squad-wise. But still, they would have been a threat. Like, they have some unbelievable players, and like, let alone Ronaldo, but, so many great players that they could be a real threat under Conte. Tottenham, though, I mean, they're bloody starting Oliver Skip. Like, I know he's not half bad, but he's like, compare it to our midfield, Man City's midfield, Liverpool's midfield. They're not going to do nothing. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Charlie, any final thoughts on the whole Conte stuff before we move on from that?
No, I just think, I think it'll improve Tottenham. I mean, I don't think they can be much worse than they were under Nuno, because some of the football they're playing was absolutely awful. I think the last 3 games, they didn't have a single shot on target in any of them in the second half. That just isn't good enough for Tottenham. A big thing that he's going to have to sort out is Harry Kane. Do they cut their losses and accept that, right, Kane's done? Or, I don't think they sell him in January, but they certainly have to sell him next summer. I don't think he wants to be there. Yes, Conte coming in is exciting, but it doesn't suddenly make them contenders for the big trophies. It's not like Kane's 22, 23, where, do you know what, I could stay here for a few seasons, see what happens under Conte. The clock's ticking for him now. He'll be 29 next summer. Hasn't really got enough time to be hanging about if he wants to win some top trophies. So I think, that's going to be a big thing. What does he do with Harry Kane? Signings as well, how much he's going to be backed. Spurs are going to need to go and invest in the January window. I presume they'll go. I mean, Conte always plays 3 at the back. I can't see any reason why he wouldn't employ 3 at the back. Yeah, well, you never know. But you go 3. You would expect him to go 3 at the back, so it could be an opportunity for Matt Doherty, who hasn't featured at all really since he signed from Wolves a couple of summers ago. Could be an opportunity for him to start some more matches. He was very good in the back 3 at Wolves, so you never know. Look, they'll definitely improve. Is he going to be there long enough to win them trophies? In my opinion, no. I honestly don't think he'll last 2 seasons. I really don't. But they'll definitely improve, but they won't improve enough to win a trophy, in my opinion.
I agree. I do think they could now get top 4 because United have basically ruined it, which is maybe also why I'm less annoyed about Conte going to Tottenham, just because I find it so funny how United bottled this whole situation now. That's just hilarious to me. And I do think now with Conte, Spurs are better than Arsenal. So then it's just about, can West Ham keep that form up for the whole season or not? And if they can't, I do think there is a chance Tottenham get top 4, which does that bother me? Not really, because they'll just play Champions League and get knocked out in the group stages again. So who cares? But Pice, do you think they could get top 4 with Conte? This season, obviously?
Maybe. I wouldn't rule it out. Yeah, I mean, the four spot's really up for grabs, because I think, obviously, Chelsea, City and Liverpool finished top 3. So there's so many teams that could finish top 4, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, Conte's definitely can grind results more than, say, Oli can. So, I wouldn't rule it out, to be fair.
Exactly that. Let's move on from that. We've spoken enough about Conte, spoken enough about Tottenham. Let's move on. Let's get to, let's start talking about Malmo before we get into the Wingbacks discussion, because it's the 4th game of the group stage. Obviously, like Charlie mentioned earlier, we did beat them 4-0 in the reverse leg when we played them at Stamford Bridge a couple of weeks ago, which was pretty good, although still an unfortunate day because both Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner got injured that day, so that wasn't fantastic. Even Ruben was against Norwich where he picked up that small knock. Never mind. But still, so that wasn't great, but like Charlie said, it really wasn't that difficult to play them. But I will also say, when I think back to when we played them in the Europa League on the Sarri, the away leg was a lot more difficult back then than it is now. See, I don't know if their squad's better now than it was then. They were in the Europa League then, they're in the Champions League now. So presumably it was better. But I also can't lie to you. I have no idea whether they were in the Champions League that season and finished third, and that's why they were in the Europa League, or whether they started the season in the Europa League. No idea. But what I will tell you, it's never easy, especially come November time. Sure, if it was a 5th or 6th match day, it would have been even more difficult to play out in Sweden. But it's, even though it's obviously as south as you can possibly go in Sweden, it's still not easy to go to those types of places in, winter time. That's also why we're playing early, by the way. Just to, none of you miss it. Play at 6 o'clock kickoff, like 6 o'clock UK time kickoff tomorrow. So don't miss the games thinking we're going to play at 8, obviously. That would be an L for you. But how do you feel, Let me go with you first, Pies. Do you think this is a game because we won the last game so comfortably, and obviously we played a couple of games in a row with quite a strong team? I know obviously we rotated against Southampton, but still, do you think there will be a lot of rotation, or will we still go with a fairly strong squad because we need to make sure we are in a position to actually overtake Juventus when we play them on the 5th match day?
I don't think we can rotate a lot, to be honest, especially not up front. The midfield and defence we could if we wanted to, but yeah, I think it'll be a fairly strong team. I think Tuchel will want to get the job done because if we win this, we're in a really good position. So yeah, I think it'll be a fairly strong squad, to be fair.
I back that, to be fair. Like, there will be a little bit of rotation, I reckon, in midfield and potentially 1 or 2 of the wing-back positions. But I think outside of that, it will probably, not be too different from the Newcastle team. But Charlie, would you go along with that? Or do you think there is going to be quite a lot of rotation? But like Pi said, in the forward areas, we don't have the players at the moment to rotate anyway.
I have to say, like when we played him at Stamford Bridge, I was quite surprised with how strong he went in that lineup. I mean, I didn't really expect Lukaku to be playing in the corresponding fixture. He likes to go strong in the lineup. So, I mean, as Pi said, there's not really much rotation in the front three. We've got no Werner, no Lukaku, and no Mason Mount for the game tomorrow. So, Pulisic not fit to start, in my opinion. It would be a mistake to start him. So, it's going to be Havertz, Hudson-Odoi, and Hakim Ziyech up front. At the back,
What about Rob Barkley?
No, not for me. I mean, look, he's done well to kind of get himself back into the mix a little bit. Considering he didn't even have a squad number at the start of the season, he's done well to work his way back in to feature a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't completely rule it out him starting, but I would be surprised. At the back, that's probably where we can make a few changes. I mean, Azpilicueta possibly to come in and play. I think Trevor Chalobah deserves to come back into the lineup. And then, I love Ben Chilwell, but I think Marcus Alonso has got a chance of playing in this game possibly as well. But otherwise, there's not really a lot of room to make too many changes.
No, I agree. Let me just summarize what Thomas Tuchel said at the press conference. First of all, he said he loves it at Chelsea, which is great to hear. Big fan of that. Number 2, he said he doesn't like the fact that everyone keeps saying, the defenders score all our goals, when he's like, well, I know they're officially defenders, Chilwell and Reece James, but our wing-backs are midfielders, not defenders. Hence why our formation is 3-4-2-1, not 5-2-3 or 5-2-2-1. Do you know what I mean? That's why it's called 3-4 something. Do you know what I mean? And he's obviously right with that. It's obviously, I mean, if you play this formation, obviously your wing-backs are going to chip in with goals. I don't really care whether people call them defenders or not, but I thought it was good that he explained it to the people that don't really get it, apparently. But otherwise, like obviously Charlie said, Mason Mount is still out, unfortunately, due to illness. It has been confirmed that it's not the Rona, which is a positive thing, obviously, but not the test, fortunately. Bad joke. I apologize. Let's move on. Still injured, still ill, like I said. We'll miss this one. Hopefully, we're back for the Burnley game, I guess, but... Christian Pulisic has travelled and is coming back. What am I saying here? Just read that Kante didn't travel now despite training. All right. I mean, Pice just told me that. So Kante didn't travel. Presumably for like a rest reason, because midfield is the only position where we can probably just leave someone at home just to not make them travel. I presume it's probably not an injury if you train today, unless you got injured late in training like Kovacic, which would not be great. But let's not, ride the devil on the wall, because, let's keep positivity going and let's just hope we're just resting him, which is fair enough. But yeah, Christian Pulisic is back and is travelling. Initially was only planned to be involved against Burnley, but seemingly he's done well with training and done well with, his pain management. So, has gotten involved. Like Charlie said, very, very unlikely to start the game, but maybe he'll get some minutes, which obviously would be good. But yeah, of course, Romelu Lukaku, Mateo Kovacic and Timo Werner are still all out injured. You touched on the wingbacks there, and I just want to have a quick discussion about this because they're doing really, really well. Reece James, Ben Chilwell. Obviously, for years, people were hyping the Liverpool fullbacks, and both of them are very good fullbacks. Like, I'm not coming here to say, Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are not very good players. They are very good players. Now, you can debate how good defensively Trent Alexander-Arnold is, but it helps that he plays in a team that's as good as Liverpool, so that's exploited not as often. And, but now with their current form, 7 goals so far this season for them two. That's more than Ronaldo has. There's more than Ronaldo and Messi combined this season. There's more than Ronaldo and Sancho combined this season. That's more than Grealish and Foden combined this season. That's more than loads of players combined this season. Like, they've got 7 goals, 4 on Reece James' end, 3 on Ben Chilwell's end. I think Reece, I'm pretty sure, has 2 assists as well, and didn't even play all the games because he had obviously that ankle injury after whatever game it was. So what a start to the season from them. And I know there was certain individuals, none of you, I'm pretty sure, that were like against signing Ben Chilwell at the time. I was always for it. Did I think it would be as good as he is right now? Maybe not. But Reece James, I've been hyping that kid for a very long time. The only frustrating thing is the fact that we had Tarek Lamptey and Tino Livramento in the same bloody position because all 3 of them were bloody brilliant. But Reece James is a special guy. He's a very, very special guy, a special talent. And I firmly believe that they are the best 2 wing-backs in the world currently. Yeah, you can have a debate. Would they be as good in the back four? Would they be better in the back four? Would they be worse in the back four? They certainly wouldn't be scoring as many goals in the back four, that's for sure. But in terms of wing-backs, yeah, I know not that many teams play wing-backs. But in terms of wing-backs, they're the best bloody wing-backs in the world. And, with Jorginho, you could argue that for the midfielders. And with Mendy, you could argue that for at the moment, you could argue that for a few players, in our team to be the best in their position. But it's been a minute. Realistically, when was the last time we had a best fullback? Ashley Cole? Like, let's be honest, we probably didn't have that since then. And it's a good position to be in. Like, we're now in a situation where, both wingbacks can come inside and play inside wingbacks, not inverted, by the way. I saw Joe Tweedy tweet about this. I'm like, no, they're not inverted, obviously. But anyway, inside wingbacks, outside wingbacks, scoring goals, getting assists. You can't really be asking much more from them, can you? So, Pice, let me ask you. First of all, just hype them as much as you want, obviously. But do you think they are the best? They are the best wing-backs in the world? Do you think they're the best full-backs in the world?
As a pair, probably they are.
Yeah, as a pair, not necessarily individually.
Yeah, as a pair, they definitely are then. Because I don't, like PSG, they've got Hakimi, but he's playing in a back four at the moment. And Nuno Mendes is obviously a really big talent, but he doesn't play as much. So I can't really think of many others. Robertson and Trent aren't playing wing-backs. So, yeah, I think they probably are on form, to be fair, the best wing-back pairing in the world. They're certainly scoring a lot of goals. It's crazy that Reece James has got 4 goals already in the Premier League, 2 assists. As well, I heard Chilwell say that he was quite disappointed that he didn't score against Newcastle. So that's quite funny. If that's
I picked him on my play prediction on the Chelsea app. I picked Chilwell after I saw that Mason didn't start. I picked Chilwell.
Yeah, another streamer or something, but then it was end up being James. But yeah, they've both been brilliant, and it's just great to see, especially how good Chilwell's been. Because when Alonso was in the team, he was scoring goals and stuff. But I said all along that I wanted Chilwell back in the team. I couldn't fathom a £50 million left back with, still young and had so much potential to be on the bench. I thought it was a bit weird, but yeah, he's definitely been really consistent for us, and be interesting to see if they start tomorrow night. I agree with Charlie. I think Alonso definitely should play. I think I actually said this on one of the. I think I said this on a play.
You said it before we played Newcastle.
I said I think Chilwell for Newcastle and Alonso for Malmo, and then stick Chilwell back in for Burnley. I think it makes the most sense. Like, I don't know why you would play Chilwell. Like, you got to give Alonso a game in there anyway. So, yeah, I think tomorrow will be the time for rest. But overall, I think they've just been so good, and they're beaming confidence at the moment as well. Like, they don't seem like stopping, So every time they score or get involved, or in an attack or a goal, then they're just going to get even more confident. So it's just the levels are just raising each time they play, which is really good.
which is really good. We have a comment here by VJ, just quickly because we're on the topic, I suppose. Just a second for it to show up on screen. Don't know why it's being slow. Basically saying, I agree with Pice. As a pair, they are the best. Most fullbacks are good, but not as a pair. Trent and Hakimi, good for their teams, but not their counterparts. It's interesting because Liverpool play a back four. I actually think Robertson's better than Trent. I think Trent's obviously by far the better footballer of the two. And I think Trent, I say hopefully, but in terms of if I want a footballer to succeed, even if it's for a rival team, if I just want a footballer to do well individually, I think he would have a much better career if he got moved to midfield in some position. If he played as a right CM in a midfield three, I think he could have a much more glorious career than he could as a right back. But I think as a fullback, I actually think Robertson's better because, I don't know. It's just he has the lungs to actually play that position, while Trent sometimes just can't be bothered with running, which is obviously not ideal. Like I said, with how Liverpool play, it works. But, you see it every now and again when they struggle in a game. Who's the one that struggles most? It's Trent. And Hakimi, to be honest, I think Hakimi isn't even a fullback. Hakimi is a wingback, but I don't even think you can properly use Hakimi in the back four. And I know PSG do, but that's PSG. In Liga, we're talking about serious football leagues here. I don't think you can use Hakimi as a proper right back. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen enough of him there, and we haven't seen it at a high enough level to make a full judgment. But that's just my opinion anyway, with how I see him play. Like, the guy just wants to score more than he cares about any tackle, I think. But hey, just lastly, Pice, would you also say they're the best fullback pairing if we just conclude fullbacks and wingbacks into the same position, or do you think they only get that title for wingbacks?
It's just no. I think probably Liverpool have the best pairing in terms of fullbacks, because it's weird because I would take Reece over Trent right now, but Robertson for me is much better than Chilwell. Like, for me personally.
Fair enough. I'm not sure I'd go along with much better, but maybe still a little bit. But Chile's obviously young. People forget that. I mean, the same goes obviously for Reece, but people know it for Reece. But people forget that Chile is actually still quite young. Not saying that I don't know how old Robertson is, to be honest. I would guess 27, but I don't actually know. But Charlie, just quickly before we go on to predicting an 11, your thoughts on the wingback as a pair? Do you think they are the best wingbacks? How do they compare, for example, to the Liverpool wingbacks or fullbacks?
Look, I think right now on form and this season so far, you'd have to say that those two are the best wing-back pairing in the league for sure.
It's Liverpool's favourite thing to talk about right now, best things. So
right. I think right now, I don't think you could argue with it. I mean, if you're looking at it over, a period of time, then you'd have to say obviously Liverpool's fullbacks have been doing it for on a more consistent basis. If Trent and Chile, so not Trent, if Reece James and Chilwell can continue this form for the majority of the season and into next season, then you could say that perhaps they are a better pairing than the Liverpool fullbacks. But I think right now they've got everything in their game: to defend well, a massive threat going forward, score goals, and they're really important to our side at the moment because we haven't got the most goals in the front three really, which sounds, with all the attacking quality we've got at the top end of the pitch, we don't score a lot of goals with our forward players, which does sound a bit odd. So to have a sort of a constant supply of goals from the wing-back area is really important, I suppose. And when you play a back five, back three, whatever you want to call it, it's really important that the wing-backs get involved in the attacking phase of the game. And at the moment, I know for me, there's none better than those two on current form. I mean, I love Hakimi. I think Hakimi's probably in isolation, he's the best right wing-back in the world for me. When he plays up for Inter Milan at Dortmund, he was unbelievable. And I have to say, I was a little bit disappointed when we were linked with him that we didn't manage to get that one across the line, and he ended up signing for PSG. I think he would have been a great addition to this squad, but can't complain too much. But I would have liked to have seen him.
That is fair enough. Hakimi is an interesting one because I don't follow PSG that closely, but when I've seen him in the Champions League, they haven't really played a lot of possession football because that's just Pochettino. I mean, they basically does what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does, like park the bus, try to hit on the counter with your fast players. So I haven't seen Hakimi play in a team that is a super possession-based team because Dortmund isn't, Inter isn't, and when I've seen PSG, they aren't. And I don't know how well he does in their games when they are. So because Hakimi is without a shadow of a doubt, because he's so ridiculously fast, good at finishing, good at crossing, and decent at passing. Fantastic if you're counter-attacking wing-back. I'm not sure if it would struggle more if, say, we play Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just all about trying to circulate the ball. I'm not sure if he's as good at that. And Williams, just again, gonna do the surname, Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba is a shout. I mean, a lot of people underrate Jordi Alba, in my opinion. I think Jordi Alba is a lot better than people give him credit for. The guy's been running up and down the Barcelona flank for 10 years. And, now he's arguably the best player because when he's fit, he's the only guy that does anything remotely close to what they used to do. But, you can also talk about Alphonso Davies. How would he do in a different league? Who knows? But obviously, I said this as a pairing, not, together, not individually, like Pies obviously said earlier. But let's move on to tomorrow's game and let's talk about the lineup because obviously that's something to discuss. Obviously, we said it a second ago already that it's probably not going to be, there will be some rotation, but not going to be stupid amounts of rotation, but we'll get to which individual positions we're talking about with that there. But it is obviously hugely important that we get the win because, whatever team we field, we need to win because I want to be in a position where if we beat Juventus by 2 or more, we top the group. Even if, the UEFA rule change a couple of years ago with how the pots work has kind of ruined that. I mean, we topped the group last year and got Atletico Madrid, who were top of La Liga and won La Liga in the end. I know they weren't actually the toughest opponent in the end, but still tougher than bloody Real Madrid was in the semi-finals. Like, I know we hyped it more because it was the semi-finals and we were obviously more nervous and excited, but essentially it was more difficult against Atletico Madrid. Like, if the ref is a bit of a weirdo and gives a penalty for the shove by Aspi, who knows how that whole thing goes. So topping the group doesn't necessarily give you an easy opponent, but it makes the likelihood of an easy opponent a little bit bigger, I suppose. So that's what you, I guess, aim for. But let me just get this up on screen here so we can talk through the lineup. Because I guess the goalkeeper is the first position where we have to discuss. Is this a game where you chuck Kepa in? I can't remember who was on the preview before the home game for Malmo, because we were talking about it then. Does Kepa play this one? Because we obviously all expected him to play against Southampton in the Cup. But is this one for him to play as well, Pies? Or shall we just stick with Big Mendy?
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't be raging, to be honest. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably stick with Mendy, I think, just. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a game. The thing is with goalies, like, does Mendy really need a rest? Like, more for goalies, it's mental rest, right, when they actually rest. But, I mean, the last game, it's not like we just played like a Brentford or something where they had 50,000 shots. So, yeah.
I'm more thinking of it in a sense, sorry to interrupt you, I'm more thinking of it if the African Cup of Nations does go ahead, having Kepa not, have a few games under his belt by that point in the season.
Yeah, for confidence, I guess.
Probably a positive.
Yeah, I do see what you mean. Maybe we stick Kepa in there, but I feel like it will be Mendy.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that Mendy travelled, at least no one has told me that he hasn't. If you wouldn't start him, you'd probably leave him at home because you wouldn't bring him to
exactly,
for a goalkeeper.
And I feel like like when Kepa's about to start or something, Tuchel always really talks about him, and he didn't really talk about him. So Tuchel's always like, he starts going on a random tangent about Kepa and like how he's got confidence and things like that. So yeah, I feel like Mendy will start just because he didn't really talk about Kepa much.
Fair dues. Charlie, what about yourself? First of all, what we mostly do here is go for the team we'd like to see because predicting is, first of all, sometimes very difficult, sometimes a bit boring. Therefore, obviously inform us who you think will start, but also, who would you start yourself in goal?
I think Mendy will start. I think we need to win this game. I'm not saying we can't win this game with Kepa in goal, but for me, Mendy starts. I think we need to play our best goalkeeper. But again, as Pi said, I wouldn't be totally unsurprised if we did see Kepa, and I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a massive problem. But yeah, for me, I don't see any reason for it not to be Mendy.
No, I agree. I fully back it. Getting used to already the colder temperatures for winter. Because if he had a small, tough spell last season, it was during that winter period. Maybe he was a bit cold, which is understandable. Because he gets colder bloody England, especially if you travel up north. But let's get to the back three. I'm losing my talking today. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, let's get to the back three. And obviously the position where we have the worst backup, I suppose, is the left-sided centre-back. So the question is, Rudiger or Malmo Chelsea? I'd go Rudiger. He already had a rest last week. He's Rudiger. He doesn't need that many rests. Also, who knows if he's going to be here next season. So then I especially don't care if he has a rest, to be honest. But obviously, that's not his fault. We've discussed this previously on the channel. that's at least as far as the public information goes in terms of what the journalists and news outlets have informed us with. If that 140k offer for him is the truth, there's no blame that goes to Antonio Rudiger for not signing a new contract. All the blame goes to Chelsea for this. So no bad feelings towards him for at this moment in time. Also, he's brilliant. But I presume both of you back Rudiger starting because it's still important and we shouldn't underestimate it, especially being an away game. And we probably wouldn't go with Sarr, would we, Charlie?
No, I don't think so. I think Malang Sarr's done very well when he's played. I thought he was great against Brentford, and he's done pretty well in the Carabao Cup. But yeah, for this game, I think we need to go with Rudiger. I mean, yeah, he's probably our best defender, and there's no reason, as you say, not to play him.
No, for sure. Pies, I presume you back the same.
Yeah, put Rudiger in, yeah.
Fair dues. For me, for the central centre-back, I let you guys go first for the more debatable positions, but for me, this is Christensen. Even though I wouldn't be totally shocked if Thiago actually starts, because Tuchel starts Thiago in the games where I don't expect him to quite regularly. But I think, the man's 37. He doesn't necessarily need to play Malmo, especially with how good Christensen is anyway. We get to the right side of centre-back in a second, whether that's Aspie, or Chalobah. But for me, Christensen should be in the middle. Pies, for you as well?
Yeah, agreed. I think Christensen will play in the middle. Silva played last game, and I think he played the game before, so I think Silva will rest.
Yeah, that is fair enough. But just quickly, because I saw an update, and N'Golo Kante has stayed behind for, in quotation marks, treatment and recovery is the official word from Chelsea. So no idea what that means, or if that gives us any more information than we had before or not, or if that just means, well, Kante is just more injury prone than people understand. But Charlie, do you agree on Christensen, or would you like to see Thiago Silva start?
Oh no, I think Christensen for sure. I think he's outstanding, one of our best defenders for sure. Thiago Silva, as you mentioned, he's getting on 37 years of age. He played against Newcastle. There's no need to play him in this game. We can easily get by without him. So yeah, I'd expect, at his age, he can just sit this one out and have a bit of a breather and perhaps come back in for the weekend against Burnley.
Exactly that. On that note, I'll actually go with you first, Charlie. Who would you like to see at right centre-back? Because obviously a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of playing Aspie at right wing-back, especially the more defensive the opponent is. And obviously Malmo are expected to be pretty defensive. Maybe not quite as much as they were at the Bridge because they're at home, but maybe for that very reason, even more so they don't lose by that many goals, I guess. So the question is, would you like to see Aspie at right centre-back? Because you would presume he'd start after obviously sitting out the Newcastle one, still finishing his recovery, I suppose, from that shoulder injury. Or, like you touched on earlier, Trevor Chalobah, who definitely deserves a start, but I'm just not sure if I want to see Aspie at right wing-back, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I personally, if I was picking the team, I'd pick Trevor Chalobah to start in that right centre-back position. I think he's done really well this season. I thought he's been bang unlucky not to start against Newcastle. I thought it was great in the Carabao Cup against Southampton. And this would be a good opportunity for him against not a great level of opposition to get some more Champions League experience and get, another performance under his belt. So I personally would pick Chalobah, but then I would have nothing against Aspie starting. And as you said, I'd rather Aspie play in a back three than play at right wing back. I just think he hasn't really got the legs to bomb up and down the pitch anymore. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Aspie played, but I personally would rather Chalobah started this game.
Fair dues, but that's. I mean, I suppose we can just link it into the right wing back as well. Then, would you go with Aspie at right wing back, or would you not start him for 2 games in a row? Essentially,
yeah, it's a difficult one because obviously he sat out the cup as well. So you don't play him in this one. It's kind of 3 on the spin that he's not played. But then, do we Reece James in great form? Do we drop him? Or not say drop him? Do we give him a rest, etc.? We saw what happened in the first game. He went strong, and then we kind of picked up 2 injuries to key players. You wouldn't want to, start James and then suddenly he gets injured again. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Aspie did start at right wing back. But yeah, I mean, for me, Trevor Chalobah needs to be in the centre, and I'd probably expect it to be Reece James as well.
Yeah, I mean, I back it. If I think ahead to the next game and we play Burnley, now against Burnley, it's probably the one and only game where I would say maybe don't play Aspie at centre back. I'm not saying playing wing-back instead, but I'm saying maybe just don't play him because against Burnley, maybe it is good to just play a couple of taller players, and maybe go back to Thiago in the middle and Christensen on the right, especially with how great Christensen was against Newcastle the other day, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, I back Chalobah. Let's stick to that quickly, and I'll ask you as well, Pice, just so we can finish the right centre back off before we get to deciding about the right wing back. But would you like to see Aspie, or would you like to see Chalobah?
I'd love to see Chalobah start right centre back. To be honest, I think it makes the most sense as well.
Yeah.
He's not played recently, so I definitely think this will be the nailed-on back three. I would be surprised if anything cropped up differently. To be honest.
Fair dues, fair dues. And on that same note, I just ask you, right wing back. Again, give me both answers. Who do you think will start and who would you like to see start?
So I think Azpilicueta will start, and I'd like to see Azpilicueta start as well. I think, yeah, that's pretty simple. I don't think Reece will play, and I definitely don't want to see Hudson-Odoi there. So I think it's a very simple choice for tomorrow.
Because Hudson-Odoi here would mean Ross Barkley there, and I'd rather not. I will also say quickly, I think it suits Aspie more being right wing back when we do this inside wing back role, because I think he's better here, more comfortable doing this. Even though his crossing is better than people give him credit for, I think just he lacks that little edge of pace to do that run sometimes. So doing this and allowing whoever plays the right 10 to do that run is actually quite good for Aspie. So if we, use that, I think, it's not going to be a big issue by any means. Obviously, Charlie, you've kind of agreed to some extent already and, give him a game. He didn't play the last three, and then we'll have another discussion on Friday whether he should play against Burnley, I suppose. But on the left side, let's do that one quick because I think all of us agreed. We spoke about it earlier already. Let's just go with Marcos Alonso. I'm never the biggest fan of seeing Marcos Alonso play for Chelsea, but, I don't want to ruin our great wing-back situation right now and, potentially pick up any bad injuries against the team that hasn't scored yet in the Champions League and, will be at home and will probably try everything in their power to not get battered. And when you're not technically and quality-wise as good as your opponent, what way can you do that? Well, being a bit rough. So, I'd rather be safe than sorry and go for Alonso. And I know you both have agreed already, but, just quickly, Pice, any. To be fair, Chilwell did the presser. Chester is a fair point. Big up Chester, by the way. But it's happened quite a few times, actually, under Thomas Tuchel last season. And I think also already this season that whoever did the presser didn't start. So while that in the past was a big sign for who starts, it hasn't been under Tuchel, so I wouldn't go too much by it, I will say. But, football stars said the same thing, but we've had it too many times that it didn't happen for me to really give it any credentials. A bit like under Conte, we always knew who started for the pictures the day before for who was wearing bibs in training and who wasn't. And now we have no idea. Like, Conte made it so obvious. I feel like mostly in the second season, maybe that's why we weren't so great, because everybody always knew what bloody team we were going to field. But Pice, Alonso, yeah, but simply for saving Chilwell, or also to give Alonso a game?
Both, to be honest. I think mainly for saving Chilwell. As I said, if you play him last game, you play him this game, and then you play him again on Saturday, I think it's a bit of an overload, as Tuchel likes to call it. So I think Alonso will start, and I think he should start as well, because the one thing I will say about Alonso is when he doesn't play and then he comes back into the team, usually he's really good. So, hopefully we can take advantage of that as well.
Let's hope so. Charlie, obviously I know you agreed earlier, but anything else you want to add to that? Why Alonso over Chile?
I just think, Alonso needs a game, use the squad, manage Chilwell. Don't want to, overload him with too many minutes, as Pice said. Don't want to pick up, any unnecessary injuries. And, good to get Alonso a run out, really. So we've got the squad, so we might as well use it.
Exactly that. And let's get to the midfield positions, because that's actually the only interesting position in terms of who starts. Well, not the only interesting one. I suppose the Chalobah and Aspie one was a bit of a small debate that we had, but the front three we kind of know is going to be. So the midfield too is going to be the interesting one because, well, we have a lot of players there. Kovacic is out injured. Kante didn't travel. So I guess we have an option of three that is Saul, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Jorginho. Now, the question is just, do you trust Ruben and Saul together, or do you think Jorginho needs to stay in the side? Let me go with you first, Pice, again. Do you think we are okay with Ruben and Saul together? Or, like I said, do you think it's just with those two are too risky, so you need to keep Georgie playing?
We might be able to get away with it trying it, because obviously Malmo aren't the greatest. If it was like Zenit or someone a bit better tactically, I think I'd go with Jorginho, but Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm not. I think I will put Jorginho in there because I feel like we'll need some control as well in the game. It's an away game, so it might get a bit scrappy. So I feel like some control would be good in the midfield.
Yeah.
Jorginho and Ruben for me. I don't see Saul playing.
It's an interesting one. I'll go last myself. Charlie, what about you? Do you think we'd be good without Jorginho, or does he have to start? And if so, who does he start with, I suppose?
I mean, I don't think he has to start. I mean, I personally would start him, but I mean, I think against this level of opposition, we could get away with it. But I mean, I personally would start him alongside Ruben. I don't think Saul Niguez has kind of done enough to be given that responsibility to play, in the middle of the park in this game. And Ruben, who obviously kind of likes to bomb forward a lot from that midfield position, I think Jorginho would be perfect just to kind of sit back and tuck in behind him, fill in the gaps, etc. A bit of control to the game, as Pi said. I'm not sure Sal could quite provide that, so I would personally play Jorginho, but we could get by without him.
Yeah, I see what you both say. It's because for me, even though it's if Jorginho starts, it's also Ruben next to him. If it was Saul and Ruben, it wouldn't be Saul that would provide the control. It would be Ruben that provides the control because so far this season, whenever it's Ruben has played and Jorginho didn't, it was Ruben that kind of replaced Jorginho in the role. So it wouldn't be Saul that would be really required to produce the control. It would be Ruben, I guess. I'd probably go with Saul and Ruben. I know seemingly more than some other people, I quite liked how Saul played against Southampton the other day. I really like the fact how many headers he won in midfield. I think that's something that none of our other midfielders, unfortunately, even though Ruben's height, even Ruben doesn't win that many. And Saul was getting into bloody all of those headers. But also in the box, not just in midfield, right? So I think that's a positive threat, especially against a team that sits back a lot. But at the same time, I see what you're saying. I'm just a bit worried about overplaying Georgie, in all honesty, because I mean, Tuchel said like a week ago already or 2 weeks ago, he was feeling a bit fatigued and this and that, or not fatigued physically, but fatigued potentially mentally after obviously the craziest summer that he had with winning the Champions League, winning the Euros for Italy, but missing a penalty in the final, winning the Super Cup for us with the shush penalty and stuff. And obviously he will go out to international duty and will play every game for Italy, while Saul, Ruben will not go to their respective countries, probably not even be called up. So that's why I'm not sure that's what I'd go with it. But we are a democracy here. So you boys have said Ruben and Jorginho, so I'll back that. I'll give it to you. But I will just put it to you because I'd like to hear what you think about, I suppose, my counter arguments for why not to start Jorginho. Pice, do you see what I'm saying? Or do you think, the potential necessity of control is more important than not overplaying him? Or then there's the threat of not overplay?
I mean, what you could do as well is you could technically play Saul and Loftus-Cheek and then maybe bring Jorginho on if you needed to. Or you could play Jorginho and Saul and then bring Ruben on. There's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still feel like it's a big game that Tuchel will want to win. So I feel like Jorginho will at least start. I like Loftus-Cheek and Saul still a bit inexperienced because they've not played together, have they? So, yeah, I feel like he'll rely on Jorginho in this match.
I think they have played together, but in a 3, not a 2.
Yeah,
not started together, but played together.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean, like starting away. And the thing is as well for me, I know like some people will be like, oh, it doesn't make a difference, but I want to make a point on it's an away game. Like, if this was at home, I'd feel really comfortable playing pretty much any team. But I just don't know what to expect being an away game. I don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like, what the pitch is going to be like. So, yeah, I feel like just a bit of control in the midfield would be nice. And he's one of the senior players in the squad. So, yeah, as I said, I think Tuchel will rely on that tomorrow.
I hear you. If we're doing fully predicted 11, I would probably agree with you, in all honesty, and pick Georgie and Ruben. And I even see what you're saying in terms of the thing, but maybe I have a bit of a weird soft spot for Zul that I can't even explain. But I feel like, if you're going to play him in any game, surely Champions League is quite right because, I mean, the guy's played Champions League finals. Like, he's gone all the way through Champions League group stages and been fine wherever, whether that was in Sweden. I'm not sure if they've ever played in Sweden, but all types of opposition, he's done okay. Even if it's a different team, I think what he most struggled with when he played against Villa was just the Premier League intensity. Malmo won't have that, so I think he'd be absolutely fine. But hey, I get what you're saying. Charlie, what about you? Do you see what I'm saying about potentially overplaying Jorginho, or do you think it's just just better be safe than sorry in terms of result?
I mean, yeah, I get your point. He has played a lot of football, and he's going to play, as you mentioned, all of Italy's games probably in the international break. I just think that as Pi said, it's an away game. We do actually need to win this game to have top spot in the group in our own hands still heading into that Juventus game. So I think start with him, and it should be pretty straightforward. We should be a couple of goals up by half time. We could just take him off at half time and give him a 45 minute breather. So he doesn't need to play the full 90. But I do get your point. But I think we can quite easily manage him in this game. But I think we do need his experience in there, considering there's no Kante and no Kovacic.
Yeah, in a way, that's kind of my worry, because Kante is injured so much, and who knows how. Yes, we were told it's a hamstring injury, but we hamstring can be 2 weeks to 6 weeks. If Kova's hamstring is really bad and he's out for 4, 5, 6 weeks, Jorginho essentially plays every game until then, because they're not going to get any easier than Malmo, are they? So if you're not going to rest him for Malmo, where do you? Which is why I'm saying what I'm saying. But no, like I said, it is democracy. We will go with that, and essentially we don't have any choice anyway. We'll just see what Thomas Tuchel picks tomorrow. Getting to the front three, I mean, it is a bit boring. I do apologize. It's just going to be these three, because there's nobody else that can play other than Ross Barkley. And as much as I've, big fair play to Ross, he's done good when he's come on in the last, a few times against Southampton, against obviously Newcastle on the weekend, and even I meant Southampton in the league. And even when he came on against Southampton in the cup, he did okay. Or did he started that and did okay? Whatever it was, he started that. I want to quickly, even though we know who's going to play, obviously, I quickly want to talk about two players. Well, I suppose we can talk about all three, but two in particular, both Callum and Hakim Ziyech. First of all, Pies, because obviously you were meant to be here after the Newcastle game, but obviously then couldn't. What did you actually make of Hakim Ziyech? Because it seemed like his performance really divided and split the fans' opinions.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was watching the stream, I thought he's playing absolutely shit. But then he hit the post. He missed an open goal pretty much, but he scored a screamer. So, I mean, overall, I didn't think he was too bad. He tried risky passes as well, which I know a lot of fans were getting annoyed with, but I like to see that from players because there's not enough invention in this side anyway. So I don't really mind that, even if it goes out. There was a couple ones where he tried to spot a run down the left, but he just chipped it a bit too far and they went out for a goal kick. And I know I saw a few tweets.
If I can just interrupt you super quickly, because I agree, those were really annoying. But what I liked, in past performances, he kept playing those passes and kept missing them. Against Newcastle, after 2 or 3, it seemed like he realized, I'm not hitting them today. So he just stopped doing it. And to me, that's already a sign of improvement in a way. Find different ways. And he did find different ways to be involved and threatening. We didn't just play the same pass over and over and over again and failed every time. So I thought that was better than what he did previously. I can't lie.
Exactly, yeah. So I think overall he wasn't too bad, to be fair. I've definitely seen worse games from him. I liked that. I felt like in that game, in the Newcastle game, he took a bit more authority in his performance. Like he was really the one that was trying to get the ball. He was taking lots of shots. He was moving into the middle. There was one time where it might have been the shot that hit the post. Actually, he drifted in for the right, and then he came into a central area, and I think he took a touch and shot first time. I can see it in my head, but I can't remember if it's the one where he hit the post or not.
It was exactly that one. Yeah.
It was, wasn't it? Because I think was it Jorginho who played the ball to him? I think it was
either Jorginho or Christensen, one of the two.
It was like a splitting pass through the middle, and he just turned round, took a touch, and just shot. I can't remember.
Kind of did what I usually want to see Havertz and Lukaku do, but neither do.
Yeah, as I said, I felt like he took a bit of authority. So tomorrow I want to see that again. I want to see him take authority on the game. Don't go missing. Because his time's running out here. If we're being completely honest.
Yeah, I put it to you as well, Charlie. Obviously, we haven't really discussed it, other than on your channel we discussed his performance, and that was before Newcastle. Because I was pretty pleased with it. And if you watch the highlights back of the game, until we score, all you see of the game is Ziyech. Literally, the only thing you see in highlights is Hakim Ziyech because he was the only one that did anything until we scored. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Yes, I know the offside goal was offside, and maybe he should try a bit harder to stay onside. But the finish was good, and the pass, it was more of a shame about the pass of Jorginho because that was outrageous. I discussed this on the post game stream with the other guys because he said he missed an open goal. I mean, factually, that's probably true, but I don't think it's missing a sitter to me because Kai touched the ball like 2 yards in front of him. I'm like, how on earth is Ziyech expected to sort his body out to get it into a position to get that ball in goal or on goal when he took a deflection essentially 2 yards in front of him? Like, that's why I'm not too harsh on him. Yeah, it's great. It would be great if he did score it, but I feel like that now we're being harsh. When I think about how many excuses people find for Timo Werner and we're being harsh on Ziyech for that's a bit ridiculous. But I will just say one thing, because while I think he was better and much better, actually, there was still his problems that he had. Some heavy touches, some silly passes that myself and Pice just touched on. And he still did those things. But I do think the people that really thought he was bad in that game, it's a bit like sometimes I have with Kante, and I fully admit that. Where I'm like, I know Kante, like against Newcastle, I'm like, why is Kante starting? He's going to be a problem. He's going to mess those things up. And that's exactly what he did. So I was extra frustrated by it because I was kind of looking for it. And I feel like people with Ziyech against Newcastle were kind of looking for his bad touches and looking for his bad passes. And were kind of getting so frustrated by those that they kind of ignored the good things he did and the fact that he was an only dangerous player until we scored. I think people kind of ignored that a little bit, and I found that a bit harsh. But yeah, I thought it was quite decent. What rate did we give him? Like 7.5? It was a decent rating. It was a decent rating. Charlie, what would you, obviously, like I said, we discussed Hakim Ziyech on your channel the other day. Again, link to that video is down in the description, guys. Check it out and subscribe to it, Charlie. But what did you make of Hakim Ziyech against Newcastle?
Look, he, as you guys both said, he was much better than he was against Southampton. I was there for the game in the cup, and he was terrible. He really was awful. So he couldn't have been any worse than that. Yes, he was better. He's found himself fortuitously with an opportunity to get a few games under his belt in the side and to try and impress, because he's not really shown anything since he's really signed for Chelsea. He's not done a lot. And I think there's quite a lot of expectation around him. And he was better, and he was, a lot of the stuff was going through him, but, excuse me, as I said when we chatted about him, he's 28 now. It's not like he's a young player and he's got time to develop. He needs to do something. He needs to do it now if he's going to have any sort of long-term future at Chelsea. We need to see him influencing games on a more consistent basis, scoring goals, providing assists. I mean, we definitely haven't got the same player that he was when he was at Ajax, because, as you said, he's a very technically gifted footballer, but at Chelsea, he just doesn't seem to be doing it, whether that's the system, whether that's the league. He has moments, but he doesn't do it enough. And, when everyone's fit, he doesn't play. But yeah, he was better, and credit where it's due. He did better, but this is another opportunity for him tomorrow. I think he really needs to step up and deliver again, because before you know it, he'll find himself back on the bench again.
For sure. I will also say, I think, obviously, the shot that got deflected onto the post, I think that's an absolute screamer and goes top corner without the deflection. Sure, that's like if, buts, and maybes, but because you mentioned that would have been one of those special moments that he does have, because I think that rifles top corner. I don't think the goalkeeper stands a chance at it. The way it looked from the camera behind the goal, I think that was going top corner. Obviously, we'll never know, but I thought so. Maybe that's just me trying to back him and being positive. Well, let's get to Callum Hudson-Odoi, who, the big question isn't, does he start, does he not? Obviously, we all hope Christian Pulisic comes on tomorrow and plays maybe 10, 15 minutes and, does well. That would obviously be great. But the kind of question I have to you boys about Callum Hudson-Odoi is, first of all, how have you really rated him when he's played in his favourite left wing position in the last few games? But not only how has he played or he's done well, but has he done well enough for when Timo is back and Pulisic is somewhat fully fit to stay in the side over them too? Because I think he's done good, but he hasn't done better than Timo did, for example, when we played Southampton in the Premier League. Timo was better in that game than Callum Hudson-Odoi was in any game since playing left wing, I thought. So it's like, yes, he's doing good, and that's great, and I'm happy for him, and I'm glad he's finally getting minutes and game time and getting involved and scoring, kind of assist, obviously, for the first Reece James goal. But I'm not sure he's done well enough play on the right to keep the other. Sorry?
Didn't Werner play on the right in the Southampton game?
He did, but I'm just comparing winger performances.
Oh.
Because
you meant on the left.
No.
Oh, right. Yeah, because usually he plays on the left, right? So
he does usually. Well, yeah. I mean, who knows these days anymore? Because at the start of the season, he didn't play at all, really. And then he came in, played like once or twice. And well, to be honest, since Lukaku got injured, he only played once, and that was on the right, wasn't it? I know Lukaku did play that game against Southampton anyway. I don't know what I'm waffling about. But most of the time, he kind of played in the front too. He didn't really play off the left much so far this season because whenever Timo played not on the right, he was kind of in the front too rather than off the left. But maybe I'm wrong with that. Do you see what I mean, though?
yeah.
But regardless, on that note, Pice, I'll go to you. Callum, do you think he's done well enough to keep the other two out?
Well, I mean, Tuchel said he's done well and delivered in left wing. So, I mean...
That's exactly my question, but I think we can all agree he's done well. But was it well enough? That's basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think so. I think he has done. There's certainly a case to say play him over Werner or Pulisic, but I think with Pulisic, it's... If he's at, like, I don't know how long it's going to take him to find his top form. This is the thing. Like, if he finds form really quickly, which he could do, but it also could take him a lot of time. It just depends. If he finds form really quickly, then I always say start Pulisic on the left because I just think he's our most dynamic attacker we've got, period. But, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be against Hudson-Odoi starting more games on the left because I just think he's so direct. Like, he just carries the ball so well. He's so direct. He puts crosses in. He takes people on. You know, he's everything that a winger should be, really. So the thing is with Werner is I don't mind him playing, but I don't know. I've just never quite understood Werner, to be honest. Like, he's not really...
It just depends on the game, innit? Like Newcastle.
Yeah, like he creates space for others. He creates space for others, and we always say when Werner plays, we play better, which is proven to be fact multiple times. Because there's been games without him where we've been rubbish, and then the games he comes back in, we're like, oh, we all of a sudden win, or we all of a sudden score more goals, or look better. So it's more Werner's more about his off the ball movement, I think, rather than his actual individual quality, which is a weird one. But yeah, I definitely think Hudson-Odoi should play more games on the left, like 100%. Tuchel even said today that it was a bit harsh playing him right wing back, but he took it for the team, which to me suggests that he won't be playing there much anymore, which is good news to me. So, yeah, I think going forward, definitely he'll be playing on the left, and I think he deserves to. Like, he can play on the right as well, but on the left is his favourite position. So, you know, every player wants to play in their favourite position. Like, you can see he's more comfortable there. When he plays on the right, he almost, like, gets dragged down the touchline. He has to cut back, and he doesn't have a left foot, really. So, whereas on the left-hand side, he can cut in and shoot with his right foot or dribble or, you know, make combinations with Lukaku and stuff, which I really want to see. So, yeah.
I'll stay with you just quickly, Pice. I mean, you can read it out aloud if you want to. What is your reaction to that comment by Jester?
How does he take on players? The 2 games he had a goal contribution, he completed 0 dribbles. Well, I mean, I'm more talking about overall, just as like his maybe in the last 2 games, if that's true. But for me, I always associate Hudson-Odoi with someone who takes on a lot of players. And I think overall, if you look at his Chelsea career, he's done that a lot. Like, he's completed a lot of dribbles, especially on the left-hand side when he plays there.
Because I agree with you in terms of overall, that's also my opinion of him. But I do agree with Jester. I mean, I'm not sure about last 2. I can't lie. I don't remember full games.
I mean, what about the assist? Was it an assist? The first goal? I mean, that's a dribble, right?
Yeah, I was going to get to just that. I was going to get to just that. But from my memory, that was the only moment he even tried to properly take anyone on in that entire game.
Yeah.
Which I found weird. I was like, please do it more, Callum.
Let's be fair, though. Newcastle played a ridiculously low. Like, it was like 8 people at the back. So Newcastle was all about being patient. But the one time he did get some space and he went for a dribble, ended up being a goal. So it was good.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, he was decent. Charlie, similar question, I guess, in the end. Do you think Callum has done well enough to keep the other 2 out? Obviously, I know this comes with a big caveat. We don't know how good Pully is now that he's back. I guess the same also goes for Timo Werner, because Timo has great spells or good spells, let's say, and he has really bad spells. Also somewhat depending on the opponent, of course. But do you think he's done well enough to... at least until the other two play better than him in the off games where they get the chances over him. Until then, he stays in the side over them.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say on the balance that it would be fair for him to stay on the side. I think he has done well in the games that he's been given. Obviously, he did well against Norwich. And I thought he did quite well against Newcastle as well. I'm just, as Pi said, I'm just delighted that we're not going to really be seeing him much at right wing back anymore because he's so wasted there. In that front three, it's great. You know, he's someone like Pulisic who is so direct, runs at players, take players on, causes problems. And he deserves to keep his place in the lineup until the others actually show that they're playing better than him. Because, yeah, we've all agreed, as we've said, that we do play better football perhaps when Werner's in the lineup. But Werner's just too inconsistent. Sometimes he's good. Other times he's just awful. He's just miles off it. I think Hudson-Odoi's got a little bit more consistency. Probably better end product, I'd say, as well. And he definitely deserves to keep his place in the lineup until otherwise. I mean, I personally would really like to see the Pulisic-Lukaku link up once they're both fully fit up and running to see how that goes. But for me, yeah, Callum deserves to be in that front three on form, and he's offering more than Werner has, I'd say, this season so far, and he's obviously offered more than Ziyech, etc. So yeah, no reason for me to see him being dropped.
Well, I'm not sure if he's offered more than Werner. I can't lie.
Well, I know, just in terms of kind of the way he takes players on, etc. Look, Werner is, as you said, he's important, but I don't know. I just think Callum, the way he runs at players, you feel more confident. As we said, we feel more confident. The chance when against Norwich, we were both saying when we chatted, if Timo was through on goal like Callum was, we weren't confident that he was going to score at all. Whereas with Callum,
100%.
You kind of knew that was going to go in. Yeah.
It's a weird one. I've always thought. I've always thought. I kind of just thought of it 5 minutes ago. We should just sit Callum and Pulisic into just a room where they just watch off the ball movement of Timo Werner. Because as soon as we teach them how to move like Werner, we don't need Werner anymore. Because then we have their dribbling and finishing ability with his movement. Like if they can even get anywhere near it, that'd be fantastic. But
Laurenz, look at the Norwich game. You see the Hudson-Odoi's goal with the movement. That was what we need more from him.
Exactly that.
Because that was like a Werner run, right? That was what
exactly.
Werner
Where he
does.
started, came back to stay on the side, and then went for it. Brilliant. That was a really good run. Really good run.
Yeah.
It's just a tough one because obviously now we're in a good run where it's like, okay, without Timo, we've scored a lot of goals. So at the time, we're like, we don't know. We're fine. But when we get to a bit more goal-scoring drought again, I think Timo can play a big part in how to break that. Similar to how it was in that game against Southampton in the Premier League, where we struggled a bit around that time for goals. And that game, all of a sudden, we scored 3 goals and he was brilliant. So it's like, it's a weird one. It's a weird one because, I mean, while I'm not going to be quite as harsh anymore as Ahmed is here with saying Werner is trash, technically he is. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Technically, he absolutely is. But I think we're going to round it out here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to ask both of you guys for a quick score prediction. Charlie, I'm going to go with you first. What do you reckon?
I mean, I think, as I've said, it should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to go for a 3-0.
Fair dues. Pice?
4-0.
4-0. All right.
4-0. Feeling confident.
Fair dues.
No, watch it be 1-0 with Alonso free kick in the 88th minute.
I mean, hey, as long as we win. I mean, I'll be a bit more sad after, but hey, as long as we win. Well, weirdly, I feel like we're going to concede a goal tomorrow, so I'm going to say 3-1. I don't know why I feel like this, because I rarely feel like this with Chelsea these days, that we're going to concede a goal. And this is no for any particular reason of any individual playing, but I don't know. Just got this gut feeling. I don't know. Because, yeah, I feel like Malmo need to score a goal in some game. They haven't scored in these 3 games so far, and they will eventually. Maybe it will be against us. Maybe it will be against one of the other 2, but I just feel like they will. But, yeah, again, quick reminder, guys, we're playing earlier tomorrow. We're playing the early Champions League kickoff, 6 o'clock UK time, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure you figure out the time. But it's not the late kickoff, so don't forget about that. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. I appreciate both Charlie and Pice for coming on. Of course, Pice's Twitter link is down in the description as always. Follow him if you don't already, and of course, check out Charlie's YouTube channel, The Blues Brothers. And like I said, we did a video together on his channel the other day, so the link to that is down in the description. Check that out. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's hope we can get the dub tomorrow, and I'll see you when I see you. If this is not loading, it's ruined my whole outro. But anyway, I'll click it now. I'll see you when I see you, boys.